Hello, today we are doing lesson 4.6a, which is proportional relationships. Well, what does this word proportional really mean? It means when the y-intercept is 0, it is called proportional. We also refer to this as direct variation because this line is going to go directly through the origin. Reminder, the origin is the middle of our graph. It's when our y-intercept is 0, when we're crossing the y-axis at 0. So we've seen this in the form y equals mx plus b, so b is really 0, is what we're saying. Our y-intercept, b, is 0. So instead of writing y equals mx plus b or plus 0, sometimes we just write y equals mx because we don't need to write plus 0. So it's any graph that's going to go through the origin at 0. It doesn't matter what the angle of the graph is, as long as it goes through that middle line, it is proportional, or we call it a direct variation graph, because it's going directly through that middle. So let's take a look at a couple examples. It says, tell whether the equation represents a proportional relationship. So there's our first question, to tell yes or no, and then identify the slope. Well, this graph is already graphed for us. Our line is right here. Does it go directly through the origin? Well, no, this one goes through -2, and you can see that from our equation. Y equals mx plus b. B is a -2. So our answer would be no, this is not proportional, and we need to identify the slope. Our slope, you can either count it on your graph or look at your equation. Our m is 2, or 2 over 1. If we wanted to count it on our graph, rise 2, run 1, rise 2, run 1. So there's our answers. The second one, we can answer the first question just by looking at the graph. It says, tell whether the equation represents a proportional relationship. Well, yes, it goes directly through the origin, so yes, this is proportional, but we need to find our slope. This equation is not solved for y, so you might want to solve it for y first. So we have 1x there. We need y by itself, so I'm going to divide by 4. So we really have y equals 1/4 x. So our slope, m, is 1/4, and that should match our graph. Rise 1 and run 4. Rise 1, run 1, 2, 3, 4. That matches our graph. So there's our answers. Take a look at the back side. It says graph the proportional relationship, or the direct variation graph. This is in the form y equals mx plus b, so we know b is really 0 because it's going directly through the origin. And then use our slope to count. Remember, rise over run. Up and down in our elevator first. 1, 2, and then 3 to the right. Up 2, 3 to the right. Keep going until you cannot go any further. And then we do the opposite. Instead of going up and right, we can do down 2, 3 to the left. Down 2, 3 to the left. Oops. And then draw your line through. There we have graphed our direct variation graph, or our proportional relationship. Alright, next one. Again, it's in the form y equals mx plus b. So we know b is really a 0, there's nothing there. And our slope m is -3, but as a fraction, rise over run, -3 over 1. So -3 means I'm going down 3, and then 1 to the right. Down 3, 1 to the right. Or the opposite of down and right would be up 3, 1 to the left. Up 3, 1 to the left. And then draw our line through. This should be a good review of just graphing y equals mx plus b, or our function form. The only difference is there's no b. It's going through the origin, so this should actually be easier. These last two, I would like for you to try on your own, and then click play to see if you got it right. It says graph the proportional relationship, same directions. The only difference is this graph goes by 2s, 2, 4, oopsies, 2, 4, 6. And here we have -4, -4, +4. And this graph over here goes by 3s, 3, 6, 9. So let's plot our equation on here. We have y equals mx plus b. So b is really a 0, right in the middle of the origin. And our m, our slope, is -5/1. So go down to 5, which would be between 4 and 6. And then over 1, which is actually going to be right in the middle. 1 would be right there. So we went down 5, 1 to the right, or we can go up 5, 1 to the left. So our equation should look something like this, our line, our graph. And the next one, again, we have y equals mx plus b. So we know we're beginning at 0. And our slope m is 6/1. So rise 6 over 1. Be careful, 1 would really be a third of the way to 3. So we went up 6/1. We could go up 6 again to 12, and over 1, almost to 3, but not quite. And then the other direction, down 6/1, down 6/1, and draw your line through. Alright, if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, you should have a worksheet that says 4.6a. If you have any questions,